Boise home prices are dropping, but it's not what you think.
Builders are slashing prices. We're gonna talk to you about that. We're gonna hit big questions on first-time home buyers, interest rates, things that you need to know and calculations that you need to have for data so you don't miss out on a lot of the things happening this year in the Boise real estate market, including a huge announcement on a real estate changing event that's going to be happening in Boise in the next few years.
So stay with us to the end because this month's update could save you thousands or help you avoid a costly mistake in this confusing market. So here at Boise Real Estate Insights, Brady Fagel, Jesse Taff, we are here to provide you guys with local real estate information that we truly think is valuable for all of you that are either looking to move here, or if you're here locally already, looking to buy, sell, upgrade, downgrade, whatever your specific scenario is. We don't just go out and film all the prettiest homes, even though we do like to do that. Yeah. We want to show you the full spectrum of real estate possibilities out here, including these market updates, where we really dive into what we're seeing real time on the ground as local real estate agents out here.
Yeah, exactly. And our goal is to truly help you guys, give you real honest information. Whether you're buying or selling right now or not, we're here to hopefully inform you guys on what actually matters, which is why we don't just always show you guys big, pretty homes. We try and keep you guys up to date because both me and Jesse, as active real estate agents, been in Boise for a long time, me almost lifelong local. We're here to truly support you guys, work with you one-on-one. If you reach out to us, you actually get me or Jesse.
Yep.
And our help along the way. And we want lifelong relationships, not just transactional, buy a house and then see ya. So that's why we're here. That's why we have this channel, is to hopefully provide you guys value. But we can get into today's market report. We're gonna do it a little bit different than we've done it in the past. So we're first gonna answer a few just common questions that we get relating to the Boise real estate market. The first of which being, is now a good time to buy your first house? And then of course at the end, we're gonna really dive into all of these new construction homes that have been cutting prices, and then a huge announcement in Boise that could potentially impact the Boise real estate market in a big, big way. But we can first start with, is now a good time to buy your first home in the Boise real estate market? And part of this too could relate to people who might be buying their second or third too. It all kind of transfers through. I guess the biggest thing with first-time home buyers is just taking that leap and getting that next step to get into the market, get your foot in the door.
And especially right now or recently, because over the last, let's say 6 to 12 months, first-time home buyers were probably a smaller market segment than they typically are, and we're starting to see them coming back out, and those that have been thinking about it starting to ask that question again, is now a good time to purchase my first home? So we'll dive into that info a little bit more, and I would say we'll kind of support it with information and experiences we've been seeing out here, but in our opinion the answer would be yes.
And we'll go into why. So I'll pull up some numbers that make sense here in a second, but the first part of it is the Boise real estate market as a whole has just continued to go up. There's first-time home buyers that I've been working with for over a year, and they wish they would have bought last year because it just keeps getting more and more expensive. I have other first-time home buyers who were trying to get squeaked in before houses get pushed out of their budget because, whether it's been 6 months to get together a down payment or to get certain credit scores in place, there's been certain homes and communities that have been creeping out of the price point that they could afford. So that's where getting in now can be a good situation, because you don't want to get priced out of the market, because then you can just play catch up forever. So there's that part of it. The inventory, the new construction, these are going to be big things with first-time home buyers, right? And then the location. So in the Boise area, it's going to depend a lot on your price point. But I think the big thing that I hear a lot of first-time home buyers especially is people just don't even think that they can afford a house. I've had 3 or 4 first-time home buyer people who have bought a house this year that originally started with a conversation of them being like, well, I can't afford a house, so hopefully in the next few years. And I was like, no, wait, let's sit down and actually look at the numbers. And then once we ran the numbers, they were honestly surprised, oh wow, we can actually buy a home. We didn't even know that.
And a home that they, really nice home in an area that works for them and that they would really enjoy. And I think for me, that's been the biggest surprise, is like similar when people realize like, oh, okay, like we have the income, we've done well financially, we are able to purchase. And then they go out and see like, oh, I can get this brand new home or this resale home and it fits in my budget. I mean, it's exciting to to be a part of, but I think a lot of times people are surprised, especially going at it your first time, with what truly can be possible. And then of course on the flip side, sometimes it isn't. And I have had that a few times too, where maybe the beginning of this year, their approval amount wasn't quite where they needed it to be to get a home that they're satisfied with. But we're coming back full circle in July, August, where they've saved up a little bit. They've paid off other small debts. Now their pre-approval bumped up, interest rates came down a little bit. They might be able to get into the market now.
And I'd say the big thing with this that buyers don't realize is these incentives that a lot of new construction people are offering, or that we can get with resale homes. So using that incentive to buy down the interest rate gets people in the door to be into an affordable home. I mean, a lot of first-time homebuyers that are putting down 0.5%. So using Idaho Housing for down payment assistance, and they're putting down literally a couple $1,000s. And they're getting in with a payment monthly of around $2,500 to $2,600 for some of these new construction homes. And when a lot of people in the Boise area are already in a single family home for rent, that's $2,000 or $2,500, they're like, it's worth paying the extra $100 or $200 a month to get into my first house. And so right there is part of the Boise real estate market, is all of these builders still, or most of them, we're going to talk a lot about it at the end with some of these big price cuts in some new construction homes, but is these incentives that are being offered in Boise. It is allowing not only first-time home buyers, but second, third-time buyers to get in and get your interest rate a lot lower than you would think. I mean, a lot of these incentives are getting people into the 6%, 5.5%. Sometimes, I mean, you're getting down really low, and some of these builders are offering, 5.1% interest rate for, the 30-year term. So it's not just a temporary rate buy down, which is important.
Yeah, and it can be and is a big savings, and that's where, again, as first-time home buyers, we do see it as a good opportunity right now to at least explore. And that's where, as we go through this video, we don't want anyone, put off, feel like they're gonna miss out, or, create urgency that doesn't need to be there, because the market's gonna be here forever. We're gonna be here to help provide and be a resource and help provide info for the foreseeable future. So even if it now might not feel like the right time, it doesn't hurt to reach out and start having that conversation, because one, you could be surprised and you might be able to, and two, plan ahead for the next year or two, and at least get yourself prepared if this is something that's a life goal for you.
To have a plan in place, which is what me and Jesse love to do. It's not just when you're ready to buy or sell a house, it's we love to have relationships, help people the entire way. Like, one of the most fulfilling things for me would be to meet with one of you guys, whether it's your first house or your second house and you've just been waiting to be able to afford your next jump up, is to meet with you guys now and help you for 2 years build up a down payment and put certain things in place, and then see that in 2 years. Like, that is why we do what we do. Obviously, there's other parts of it, but that would be a really fulfilling thing. And so it's like, don't be scared to reach out early. The other part of what is happening in the first-time homebuyer market is, I feel like we see this a lot with not just first-time homebuyers, but they're waiting for interest rates to drop. They feel like they can't afford a house, or when interest rates drop, then their payment will be low enough that now they can feel like they can buy their first house. And so wanted to run you through some numbers.
While you're typing that in, I think a lot of that stems from, where do you go as a first-time home buyer to ask questions? Probably your family, your friends, and maybe just the general national news. And of course, all of them that may have already owned a home, or if it's your family and parents, they've probably been in a home for a very long time. Their opinion is not necessarily based on what's actually happening here. And it's more, oh no, wait, don't buy at 6%. Like, you're gonna be paying this crazy amount of interest. Wait till they're 3%. And we'll show you, if that actually happened, truly what the numbers look like and how much you might be missing out on, or how much it might affect your purchase if rates come down to 3% from where they're at now.
100%. So I'll run you guys through a very easy number to go through. So it's a $500,000 purchase price at a 7% interest right now, with, if interest rates dropped 1.5%. So they got down to, 5.5% or so, which is where I think a number a lot of people are waiting for, right? And we'll play this conservatively and say that if they dropped 1.5% over the next 12 months, that home would go up 6%. That's very conservative. I think in the Boise market, if we saw 1.5% drop in interest rates, we would see a much higher appreciation amount. So, but we'll stay conservative at the 6% mark. And at the end of this video, we're going to talk to you guys about not just the interest rate things, but some things coming to the Boise market in the next 1 to 2 years that I think could make that 6% or even the 10% if it dropped go way higher than that. But anyway, if you bought that house now at $500,000 and you waited for interest rates to go down, and it went up 6%, you would be purchasing that $500,000 house at $530,000. So you would have missed out on $30,000 of home equity. Your down payment would have to go up another, small amount, maybe $3,000 if you're putting down 10%. If you're putting down, 3%, it would only go up a couple $100. But your loan amount would be $27,000 higher, which is where the interest rate almost evens out. It's not a huge savings on the interest rate side of things. Now, your loan payment amount would go down $200 a month if you waited for interest rates, but you would miss out on $30,000 of equity. And the other thing is, we plug this in at a 7% interest rate right now. With these incentives that we talked about with a lot of these new construction homes, you can get your interest rate down 0.5% to 1% right now because of the incentives. If interest rates dropped 1.5%, these builders would most likely remove those incentives because the market would be going up, so they wouldn't need to offer them anymore. So you would almost be at the same interest rate now with those incentives versus in a year if interest rates came down 1.5%.
Yep.
But you don't get that $30,000 of equity that you would have built into it, right? So, and if you guys want access to this calculator, feel free to text us. We're happy to text this over to you guys because you can play with a bunch of different numbers. You can put in a $400,000 purchase price if homes only went up 4%, if they went up 10%, and see where the numbers line up. But this calculator and running through these numbers is a hard data evidence way to look at what you would actually be missing out on, because some people forget to think about that side of it.
And the other piece to that, so it showed you, like you said, the potential missed opportunity for equity. The payment, if you waited till the purchase at 530 at 5.5%, is lower, like you mentioned, but the return on investment for the lower payment by missing out on that $30K of equity is about 10 years.
Yeah.
So that means you'd have to be in that home for 10 years. And then after that 10-year mark, now that lower interest rate is starting to pay off or starting to recoup that return of waiting.
Yep.
Most people, especially first-time home buyers, are not staying in their home for 10 years. And this is an if, we never want to bank on this. In that 10-year span, if you purchase, now versus at 5.5%, if rates do go down to 5%, you could always purchase at this price now and then refinance at that lower rate within that 10-year span. So there's a lot of hard data and information that would say sooner the better. Regardless of all the information, that is how real estate works. There's this saying that most people know, I wish I would have bought last year, the next best time to buy. Now.
It's right now. Yeah. We all wish we would have bought in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, right? So looking at the actual numbers is what can make a decision a good decision or not just based on feeling or, well, if interest rates go down, I'm going to save money, because when you look at the actual numbers, you're not. It's going to take you 10 years to recoup that lower interest rate. So wanted to walk through that because it's valuable for first-time home buyers on waiting, but it's also valuable for just all of you guys watching in the market, especially in a market like Boise where home prices are going up, even with the high interest rates and all of the states around us going down. Arizona's down, Florida's down, North Carolina's down, California's down, Oregon is down, Washington is down. Homes aren't selling in those states. Idaho is still continuing to go up because people are still moving here, and we haven't even talked about the big thing that we're going to talk about at the end. So wanted to talk to you guys about that. For first-time home buyers, it still applies to you guys who are second, third-time home buyers. Then we'll jump into just some more general knowledge, and then we'll get to this price cuts and this big announcement and big thing that could really make a huge impact on the Boise market. Okay, now the second part is what is going to happen to interest rates, and then also a little bit more short term. So what are Boise home prices and the market going to do just in the next like 6 months? But before we go into that too, I know we just told you all of this information on, you know, if you're buying your first home, second home, what to look out for, but we want to tell you guys, obviously we're real estate agents, and yes, that's how we make money, but that's not why we do what we do. We're here to truly help you guys learn information. We're honestly passionate about helping people build wealth and buy their first home, second home, use real estate as an asset and an investment tool.
Yep. We know we're going to get the comments like, oh, don't trust the real estate agent trying to sell you a home. The last thing I want to do, and again, actively try to stay away from, is convince somebody to buy or sell when it's not their time. I mean, we've said it in other videos before, and literally happens probably once every month or two, where I sit down with a client and I'm like, this doesn't make sense for you, in my opinion. Let's really think through this and see if it works. And then usually we come to the same conclusion. Yeah, you're right. Okay, why are we thinking about buying? We're just doing it because we feel like we need to do it. That is not what we were trying to share in the beginning, but we do truly believe what we're saying, which is it can be a good opportunity right now. There's some great potential, and we believe in real estate, especially as a long-term investment.
100%. And what we would advise you guys to do is, obviously, if you feel like there is a little bit of bias or you don't, go talk to other people. Go ask other real estate agents what they think. Go ask people that maybe don't have a leg in the fight, I guess. Ask a financial advisor. Ask somebody who would not be an agent in the Boise area that would make an advantage. Call an agent in Arizona or California and just ask them the simple question like, hey, do these numbers make sense? If we waited for interest rates to buy down, the equity thing, does it actually look like the home prices could be going up in this area? Ask things like that. Go to other agents. That's completely fine. Get all the information you can, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, yeah. Use AI. Make sure to say unbiased, because if you lead with a certain prompt, they're going to tell you what you want. But see what ChatGPT has to say, and again, verify. Don't blindly trust anybody, including us. But obviously, reach out, and we'll give you our opinion at least.
Yeah, 100%. And with that, interest rates. So
yes.
It's been a battle with Jerome Powell and Trump. It's
man, I love the memes.
Yeah, lots of memes going on. So they do meet at the end of July.
Okay,
July 31st, I believe, or July 30th. There's a 95% chance that the Fed's not going to cut the interest rate. Then they'll meet again in September, where there's a 38% chance that they'll cut the interest rate. But always want to remind you guys that the federal interest rate does not mean that mortgage interest rates will go down or up. We've seen it in the past where the Fed cut the interest rate and mortgage rates went up, and we've seen it the opposite, where they raised rates and mortgage rates went down. So that does not always mean that mortgage rates will go down. I'd say the projection and what I have been advising people on is just plan for them to remain the same for at least the foreseeable future, unless something breaks and Trump, kicks Powell out of there and forces his way to get things. It doesn't mean that the mortgage rates will end up going down anyway. So I would say for the foreseeable future, the quick answer is probably remain the same. A lot of people are thinking they might slowly tick down over the next 12 months.
Yeah, no drastic changes expected. If there were drastic changes, it would be either bad or good, too far in one direction if they went up for some reason or went down too quickly. But yeah, the Fed rate, even if they do cut their interest rates, just like the stock market, mortgage rates are speculative. So they're already planning out what they think is going to happen in July and in September. So unless it goes against what they're projecting, mortgage rates probably won't change much.
No, and the good news is now we're in a less volatile. Which has been kind of nice because you guys.
Knock on wood.
We'll see. But at least for now, you guys can hope that they're going to remain the same and slowly go up or down. versus what we saw last year, which is like 1% up, 1% down. Every week was completely different. So yeah, that's a short answer. The other part of that for you guys to know who maybe don't know is Trump trying to get Jerome Powell out. He can't fire Jerome Powell, so it seems like Trump is trying to force Jerome Powell to resign because Trump wants interest rates to come down, especially for the national debt. But we'll see if it affects the mortgage rates, because the bond market is what affects the mortgage rates. So realistically, the market is what's going to determine those things. But one plan for that. And then the other thing is just the short-term market in the Boise area. So from now until the next 6 months, what can we expect? In Boise, we get usually we get a winter downturn, right? So prices and homes are higher in the summer and then they're lower in the winter. Last year though, January and February were the busiest I have ever seen it, in a long, long time. So
yeah, I would say, it does ebb and flow, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not a significant enough change to change your plans. So people always ask, okay, what's the best time to buy? What's the best time to sell? There's pros and cons to every season. So for anyone, asking that question or thinking that question behind the camera, don't necessarily wait till December or January just because we think prices are going to come down. Because one, they might come down or look like they're coming down, but what we'll show you, which I'm really excited to share, is what the stats look like so far this year and what we do project to continue through the rest of the year. And really it boils down to just how many people are still moving out here, and we expect to continue to see.
Yeah, because even last year during the winter, prices were going up. So winter of last year to summer of last year was almost up from there. We saw a slight turn like early spring where it kind of dipped down a little bit, and now in summer it's up. So for the next 6 months, I think the answer that you guys need to know that Jesse kind of said is it's not going to really change anything. The only thing that could change is new construction incentives might go up or down based on how busy the market gets. And there would be less inventory on the market. We do know that for sure.
That's true.
In the winter, when it comes to resale homes, not new construction necessarily, but resale homes, there will be less options on the market for you to choose from. So that's pretty much a guarantee in the winter. People just don't want to sell their homes that they're living in the winter nearly as much. So plan for that. You're going to have more options from now until about October, and then it'll slowly dip down. Now we can jump into the big part, which is these new construction price cuts and also this big announcement in Boise. And then what Jesse just hinted at, we'll go through some of the stats and actually show you guys inventory levels, prices over the last year and what has changed in the Boise real estate market for July. Price cuts on new construction, and then a huge announcement coming to Boise. If you guys have seen other videos, you've heard a lot about it, but the price cuts. So there's two builders specifically that completely cut prices by like 10%, right?
Yeah,
or
big chunk.
Yeah, big chunk. So KB Homes and CBH, and both of them really around May, cut their prices $20,000 on like $400,000 houses, right? So a huge chunk.
I mean, something we haven't seen in a long time. They obviously, especially CBH, they play around with pricing and incentives a lot, but we haven't seen an actual like drastic price cut like that in a while. And it's really interesting to share that as we also share what the market overall is showing. But wanted to at least, bring that to people's attention and kind of talk through a little bit about why we think they did that, or why maybe we even know they did that.
100%, and it's because we have been getting questions of, well, I'm seeing price cut, price cut.
Yes.
So why is that happening? So with both of these builders, it's different reasons. The other new construction builders in the area haven't really done this. They've stayed the same, which relates to why CBH has done it. So in January and February, we talked a little bit about it earlier in this video. It was getting very busy in the Boise market. When Trump got elected, it was looking like Boise was about to see a huge ramp up. January and February was very busy, I know, for us and a lot of agents that we know. What we think is CBH was slowly rising prices more than other new construction and their competitors. And so they just kept it going. And I remember in April having clients looking at a CBH versus a Hayden home versus a Toll Brothers home versus, and the CBH homes were way more expensive, which has really never been the case. Usually CBH is known for being one of the most affordable. And so all of my clients were like, we're not buying a CBH. It just doesn't make sense for what we need. And then when May hit, what we think is they just made a correction because they overshot what they thought the market was going to do.
Yeah, even in our market reports from the beginning of this year, we talked about several builders that were doing incremental price increases. Some of them did once or twice and then paused. CBH kept going almost until about May, April-May timeframe. And then that's also where we did have a 1 or 2 month kind of buyer slowdown when there was political tensions, global economic tensions, tariffs, wars. I mean, it was all at once, it seemed like. And so once that happened, we speculate CBH started to slow down numbers wise, and we're like, oh, maybe we overshot. We thought the momentum would continue throughout the year. It didn't. It is starting back up again, like we were talking about. So then they reset, came back down in price, and then now it's probably a much more realistic region or price range that they're in now.
100%. And the KB one will make sense, but wanted to first touch on the reason it's not a concern for us or really anything to be concerned about is because it was just CBH.
Exactly.
If it was CBH, Hayden Homes, KB Homes, Toll Brothers, Hubble, if they were all doing this, it's like, okay, we need to watch out for something. Or even if it was just half of them, we would need to watch out for it. But from what it was is CBH was the only one that had to make a big price correction.
Yes.
KB didn't make a price correction. KB Homes is what they did, and it makes it confusing for you guys who aren't actively working with an agent and getting these questions answered. But all these builders are offering incentives like we talk about all the time. So Hayden Homes right now, $20,000, CBH, $20,000 to $30,000. Toll Brothers, there's some communities that are offering $50,000 in certain pockets. KB was offering $20,000 to $25,000. But is what KB did is they said, okay, all these other builders are offering incentives. We're just gonna cut the incentives and just drop our prices. And so what KB did is to kind of mix it up and I think see if it would work. And it kind of has based on the reactions, and I'll talk about that. But KB, instead of offering $20,000, they just took $20,000 off their price. So essentially what happened is on paper, it just looks like KB did nothing. They took their $20,000 that they used to offer and then they just cut it down from their price. So from a just like looking at the numbers perspective, it looks like nothing happened. But what I have been having to communicate lately for people looking at KB Homes is it actually made it less affordable. Especially if you're a cash buyer, it doesn't make a difference. If you are getting a loan, it actually makes a KB home more expensive than a $30,000 higher price point home with Hayden Homes or CBH. Because you don't get the $20,000 to $30,000 to buy down your interest rate, which would make a much bigger impact on your monthly payment.
Exactly. I literally just ran numbers before we came here to film for a client, not on a KB home, but closer to a $500,000 price point. $30,000 off the purchase price versus $15,000 in concessions, $15,000 off the purchase price. They'd save, it was about $150, $180 a month. So that's where it was a good strategy for them because now they stand out, but for an actual buyer, it may not be the best option. And that's where, a quick reminder, buyer's agents like ourselves can help, and we do recommend helping even with new construction because their sales reps are truly trying to sell you one of their homes, which again is not what we're doing. If you go straight to the builder, they are trained to sell you the home that they're representing. So that might skew a little bit about what they share with you.
They're true salespeople. Whereas we're real estate agents, or what I like to tell clients is me and Jesse are real estate advisors. So we're here to advise you on what is the best situation for you, even if that means not buying a house. But it also means comparing numbers like this. So there's some agents that might push you towards a CBH or might push you towards a KB, but what you want in a real estate advisor is finding the best situation for what your goals are. If your goals are appreciation, it's going to be a completely different home that you want to look at, and you might want to drop some of your things. If your goals are you want to be the closest you can to your family, that's obviously going to be a different situation, and vice versa. We could keep going down the line. But wanted to talk about those price cuts on these new construction, because if you're just scrolling Zillow and you're getting all these notifications, it can look scary, but that's the real answer for what's happening. Now this other big announcement, which a lot of you guys have probably watched the video that we did on it, but it really relates to the real estate market. So we want to dive a little bit deeper into how it actually will affect the real estate market in general. And that is this big Micron announcement. Not the first one that everybody was aware of a few years ago.
Which is still not even halfway through.
Yep.
Like just the first Micron announcement in chip access investment here locally hasn't even come to fruition yet.
No.
And now we're talking about another one that's triple in size.
Yeah. So first Micron announcement, 15 billion, which if any of you have driven by Micron, you see what they're working on now, and it's absolutely massive. And then a few weeks ago, maybe a month now, they just announced another 50 billion for another chip manufacturer fab plant. So it's going to be roughly an extra 15,000 jobs, with a large majority of those being very high paying good jobs, and almost all of those being people who have to move to Boise.
Yes, yep, very much localized, especially for the subsidiary employees that aren't Micron employees, but work with all the different companies and vendors and contractors. And again, that is in addition to what they haven't finished the current setup, and they haven't fully hired towards it. But even just the first 15 billion that they invested in are currently building out, we're already seeing, even just us two little guys out here, we're already seeing the impact of it with clients. So I've had several past colleagues from Micron referring out new hires that are coming in. We have an agent on our team who has a client looking for commercial space because he has a contract with Micron coming up for some equipment, not manufacturing, but equipment repair and things like that. And that's just 2 to 3 people in this area, and it hasn't even come to full fruition yet.
No, not even close. And so the first one was like roughly, I think, 2,000 jobs directly with Micron.
Yes, yep.
The second 50 billion will be right around 15,000. And I know in the grand scheme of things that doesn't sound like a big number, but
I hope it does. I mean, it should. That's almost 20,000 people just moving here like that. I mean, it's crazy.
It is. And the way to even make it crazier is, like, in Ada County, roughly 15,000 homes a year will be sold if you just factor in like single family homes, let's say. That's every single home in a year, people moving here. And the reason it's important is it's not like, McDonald's workers at, $12 an hour are moving here. It's Micron workers making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year who will and need to buy a house. And Jesse, you've worked with a lot of Micron. They love real estate too.
Yes.
So it's not like they're moving here and they could care less if they buy a home. They're moving here and they want to buy a home, and they want to buy a second home for an investment too, many of them too. So it's a huge increase, and it'll obviously happen over, a 3 to 5 year span. But it's a big enough influx of an outside source, outside of all the other people that are already moving to Boise. I mean, I've noticed over the last 30 days or so, we've had a huge influx of people reaching out, moving to Boise. This fall and even next spring, I've seen a big jump in people planning to move to Boise. And that's where, again, we'll probably get comments like, okay, no, it's slowing down. I've heard this news article. If you were to go out and look and hopefully just have a clean slate, no biases on your search engines, there's more and more articles again saying growth is continuing, if not increasing. And I just saw another news article from a local news company who probably 3 months ago was saying the exact opposite thing. It was about 100,000 population growth over the last, I don't remember, 3 to 5 years or so, and it's not stopping. And again, this Micron announcement and everything that it brings and is currently bringing is on top of the natural migration and increase in population that the Treasure Valley and really all of Idaho and even a little bit further into like Montana and things is bringing just naturally. Irregardless of interest rates, irregardless of everything else, if it was just Micron, everything else remained the same, you're going to see a slight bump in the real estate market in the Boise area, especially directly the city of Boise itself. The other thing too is Micron's not only going to bring Micron, but it's going to bring other businesses now attracted to being here that are related to, chips, AI. We have the 2 data centers out in Kuna, one being finished here soon, the other one that's going to start being built here in the next few months. So you're starting to get Boise, and we've seen articles on this where Boise is the next Silicon Valley. I don't think we'll ever get to the San Francisco style, but it still is showing that businesses and very large companies like this are moving to Boise, and it's just going to continue to do that on top of everything else, with Boise just being a desirable place to live. So going to have a huge impact, and this is where we talked about it a little bit in Micron, but if you just have one little tweak or toothpick that falls, it could be Boise 2020 again, where we get a huge surge. If Micron's coming here, if interest rates were to just drop like 1%,
oh man,
and it could just take off because people have just been waiting for that. And that's where that calculator that we talked about earlier is very important, because that 6% number that we used, if you add the Micron announcement, you add a interest rate drop, instead of 6%, it could be 12% or 15% over a 12 to 18 month span. And instead of you losing out on 30,000 and it taking 10 years, you could be losing out on 50, 80, $100,000, and it could take you 60 years to make up for that investment versus having that money in your home and the equity. So really big stuff coming to Boise, and obviously there's always going to be the situation where something major could happen.
Sure, of course, Again, this is all what we believe, and like what we're truly doing, even for our own personal real estate purchases and investments. Something drastically could change and completely shift all of this. But the long-term plan, which is what we always want to advise on, real estate as an asset, as a true a necessity for living, is going to go up in the long term, and we are expecting and seeing it to do that even in the short term. And just to wrap up real quick, because we haven't actually dropped any like data, but don't want to take any longer. The year over year price, number of pendings, volume sold is all up. So I believe year over year from this time July or June, our median price is at a new all-time high, or at least almost equal to 2021.
Yeah, and I think July of this year versus July of last year, just sales in general, I think it was up like 13%. So more homes are being sold. There's a little bit more inventory, but there's still more homes being sold. When you look at the county as a whole, I think the median home value is up like 1.1%, but that's the entire county. So this is where we talk about where if appreciation is your goal, or if there's things that you want. There's areas of Boise, there's communities of Boise, Kuna, Nampa, Meridian, all of the areas that are up 4 or 5%, when the rest of the country is down 5, 10%, right? So Boise is in a bubble, but not a bubble that's gonna pop. The true term of a bubble, meaning it has a completely different set of things that are driving the real estate market than other parts of the country. And Arizona being an example where the market is down. I've had more Arizona clients this year than I've had any other year, and that's why Arizona is going down. Every single one of them has said the same exact thing. They went from California, they were debating between Arizona, Idaho, and maybe Nashville or some other state. They chose Arizona. They've lived there for 2 to 3 years, and they regret that they chose Arizona. They couldn't deal with the heat. They didn't like Phoenix. They didn't like wherever they moved in Arizona. And now they're like, should have just done Boise the first time around. So now we're seeing that. So it's the same story all over the place. I have clients in North Carolina that say the same thing. So all of this to say, the price cuts, nothing to worry about.
Yes,
Micron is another spool in the wheel that is going to really affect the real estate market. And for the next 6 months, pretty much plan on about the same that we're seeing now. And use that calculator, reach out to us, meet with us. And if you guys want to learn more about Micron, and specifically Mayfield Springs, which is a new community that's going to be something we haven't seen in Boise, watch this video here. Me and Jesse go through Mayfield Springs, which is just outside of Micron. It's a new community. There's never been homes built out there. And there will be around 2,000 homes in Mayfield Springs, which in the video we talk about, and then there will be 15,000 hopefully in the future with suburb or communities around it. But watch that video. Thank you guys for watching.